Y error. Which error is occurred here? Y error. But is it Y error is handled by this except block? No. This except block handle which error? X error. This except block is not handle Y error. This except block handle which error? X error. Okay. It means is it Y error is handled error or unhandled error? Unhandled error. Is it Y error is handled or not handled? Not handled. Y error is not handled. Okay, here we handle only which error here? X. So if error is not handled, what will happen? If error is not handled, what will happen? Your program execution is terminated. If error is not handled, what will happen? Your program execution is terminated. And to avoid that, your program execution is what? Terminated. But before termination, it will execute which block? Finally block. It means finally block is executed in all these scenarios. When finally block is executed, when finally block is executed, completion of normal execution try block, normal execution of which block? Try block, normal execution of try block. Okay, what is the first one? Normal execution of which block? Try block. So first statement is normal execution of try block. Normal execution means the try block which doesn't raise any error. It execute which block? Finally block. Second one is try block raise error. Try block raise an error which is handled by try block raise an error which is handled by try block raise an error which block? Except the block. Rise block. Try block rise an error. Try block rise an error which is handled by which block? Except block. Even though it execute which block? Finally block. And try block rise an error which is not handled, which is not handled by which block? Except the block. Which is not handled by except the block. Even though it execute which block? Finally block. It means execution of finally block is compulsory. Why? Because resource deallocation is very important. Either it is normally completed, it means finally block contain the statements which are common for try block and what? Except the block. You can say a finally block contain the statements which are common for try block and what is that? Except block. Okay. Now this is very important. Like when you're working with files, within the try block, you open a file, and within the finally block, you close the file. When you're working with databases, within the try block, you open connection to a database, and within the finally block, you close the connection of what? Database. It means finally block is executed irrespective of error is raised or not raised. It execute the content of which block? Finally block. Okay. Suppose, assume that okay, assume that. Now I'm writing a simple example. So within the try block, again, I try to read two numbers. I try to read two numbers. So I'm just writing input enter first number. So then B equal to integer of okay, input enter. So what is this here? Second number. So you are trying to input how many numbers here? Two numbers. So input the value of A and input the value of what? B. So input the value of A and input the value of B. Then I'm saying C equal to A divided by B. Okay, C equal to A divided by which one here? B. Okay, so now after that, I try to print the value of which one? C. So here I'm trying to display the message inside a try block. I'm trying to display the message inside a try block. Okay, inside a try block. What you write in try block? The statements. In try block, you write the statements which generates what? Error. Whatever statements which generates error, whichever statements generates error, so that statements you are writing in which block? Try block. The statements which raises error, that statements, the statements which raises error, that statements you are writing in which block? Try block. The statements which raises an error, that statements you are writing in which block? Try block. Then except. So here I am trying to handle. Which error I am handling here? Zero division error. So this try block raises different errors, right? Now this is division error. So here I'm trying to display the message saying that inside which block here? Except block. Inside except block. So here I'm trying to display the message saying that cannot divide number with what here? 0. Then after that, I write one more block, which is called as finally block. I just display the message saying that inside which block here? Finally block. Inside finally block. And these are the rest of the statements. Okay. So, what do you call it as continue? Continue with the rest of the statements. Continue with the rest of the statements. Okay. If you see this one, if you see this one, so what will happen here? So what will happen here? Now your program execution starts from where? Executable statement. So this is an executable statement, right? So it will call which function here? Main function. This is an executable statement. So it will call which function here? Main function. And within main, so there is a try block. So what is the message I'll get here inside a try block? Then I try to input the first number as a 4. Okay, and second number as what? 2. Then 4 divided by 2. What is 4 divided by 2? 2.0. What is the output of this C here? 2.0. It means execution of try block is successful or not? Yes. Execution of try block is successful. Unsuccessful execution of try block, it execute which block here? Finally block. And here I'll get the message inside finally block. Here I'll get the message inside finally block. And then will it continue executing rest of the statements or not? Yes. Now this is called as normal completion. This is called as which completion here? Normal completion. This is called as a normal completion. Normal completion means where the try block doesn't raise any error. Normal completion means where the try block doesn't raise any error. Normal completion means the try block doesn't raises any error. That you can call it as which one? Normal completion. Okay, even though it execute which block? Finally block. Now just to see here how you are trying to execute. Inside try block, enter first number. First number is 4 and second number is what here? 2. And 4 divided by 2, that is 2.0. and inside finally block, and next one is what here? Continue. So 2.0 and inside finally block, and what is the next statement you have? Continue, right? For example, for example, I execute again my program. Now my program execution starts from where? Executable statement. So then control is moved inside try block. I'll get the message inside try block. So I try to input the first number. What is the first number I input? 5. And what is the second number I input? 0. And C equal to 5 divided by 0, it rises which error? 0 division error. It rises 0 division error, and this error is given to Python virtual machine. So what Python virtual machine is look for? It look for except block with which error? 0 division error. Is it except block with 0 division error is exist? Yes. Then it will display the message inside which block? Except block. And then cannot divide a number with what? 0. On execution of except block, even though it execute which block? Finally block. So what is the message I'll get? Printer. What is the message inside? Finally block. On successful execution of except block, on successful execution of except block, it execute which block here? Finally block. On successful execution of except block, it execute which block here? Finally block. Okay. Yes. This is second scenario. Okay. This is second scenario. So where I try to input the first number as 3 and second number as what? 0. You can see inside which block? Except block cannot divide number with 0, and inside finally block, and next one is what? Continue. Okay, is it continued the execution or not? Yes. So this is a second scenario, but there is one more scenario. Okay, assume that I try to execute. Again, call the main function, and the control is moved inside which block? Try block. Okay, and what is the first number is 4, and second number I entered ABC. What I entered here? ABC. Is it int function? Is it int function convert ABC? Is it int function convert ABC to integer? No. Then immediately int function raises error. What error it raises? What error it raises? Okay. Which error it raises? Value error. It raises which error? Value error or type error or something. Okay. Value error. So value error. So this value error is given to which one? Python virtual machine. This value error is given to which one? Python virtual machine. Then Python virtual machine look for the except block with which error? Value error. Python virtual machine look for except block with which error? Value error. Now, is it any except block with value error? No. There is an except block with which error? 0 division error. It means value error is handled error or unhandled error? Unhandled. If it is not handled error, it is handled by which one? Default exception handler provided by which one? Python virtual machine. Is it default exception handler? Will it continue or terminates? Terminates. But before termination, it execute which block? Before termination, it execute which block? Finally block. It will display the message inside finally block and then terminate the execution of program. Means finally block is executed. At any cost, finally block is executed. Either it is normal execution, handled exception, unhandled exception, it execute finally block. Normal execution, it execute finally block. Handled exception, it execute what? Finally block. Unhandled exception also it execute what? Finally block. If it is unhandled exception, it terminates. Before terminates, it execute what? Finally block and then terminates. Means these are called critical message. I mean critical block. This is called as which block here? Critical block. Critical means these statements must be executed. This statement must be executed at any cost. Either it is executed normally, it is executed by handling the exception, it is executed without handling the exception. I want this critical block should be executed. So that critical statements you are writing in which block here? Finally block. So you can have only one finally block. You cannot have multiple finally blocks. You can have only one finally block, not multiple finally blocks. So enter first number. So first number is 5, but second number I entered ABC. But it raises error. Which error it raises? Value error. But is it handled or not handled? Not handled. And then immediately it is given which error? Value error. But is it handled or not handled? Not handled, terminated. But before termination of program, it is executed which block? Finally block. Okay, before termination of program, it is executed which block? Finally block. So critical statements you are trying to write instead which block here? Finally block. Okay, now this is a simple example. So you have to test your application. You have to test your application by giving different inputs. You have to test the application by giving different inputs, right? Okay. So this is the block called which one? Finally block. So there is one more keyword is there. And what is that keyword is? Now rise keyword. Okay. There's one more statement is there. And what is it? Another statement is raise statement. There's one more statement is there. And what is the statement you have is a rise statement or rise keyword. Okay, now generating error. So this is nothing but generating error or exception, generating error or exception explicitly. So it means you write some logic. For example, integer function is there. Is it integer function is predefined function or user defined? Predefined. Is it integer function is predefined function or user defined? Predefined. And this integer function, if you give wrong input, it generate which error? Value error. Now who is generating error? Function. This function is generating error. When it is generating error, if you give wrong input. In the same way, for example, float is there. Float is generating error. What error it generates? Value error. If we give wrong input to the float function generate which error? Value error. Suppose. For example, if I'm writing integer of within double quotes, I write ABC. So what is the input given to the integer function ABC? Is it integer can convert ABC to integer? No. Then immediately tries this which error? Value error. Who is generated this error? Function. This function is generated error. But how it is generated error? By using which keyword? Raise keyword. Generating error is nothing but, okay, generating error. Generating error is nothing but creating which object here? Exception object. Creating exception object or error object. Creating exception object. Generating error is nothing but creating exception object or error object, and giving to, okay, giving to Python runtime, giving to whom? Python runtime, and this Python runtime is called as which one? PVM. Giving to Python runtime, and this Python runtime is called as which one? PVM, which is called Python virtual machine. Giving to Python runtime, and this Python runtime is called as Python virtual machine, right? So generating error is nothing but creating which object here? Exception object or error object, and giving to Python runtime. So this Python runtime is also called Python virtual machine. Okay. So it means we can write our own functions. We are writing our own functions, and if anything given wrong, if any input is given wrong to my function, I want my function should generate what? Error. I want my function should generate what? Error. Then how a function generates error? By using brace. Okay, by using which one? Brace keyword. Okay, so generating error is nothing but creating exception object or error object and giving to Python virtual machine. That is called as generating error. So explicitly you can able to generate the error by using which keyword here? Raise keyword. Okay, so you are saying raise. So you are raising an error. Your function will raise a error. Predefined functions raise a error. Your function also raise a error. So rise it followed by which one? Error type. Because every error is one class. Every error is one class, and every error is one class, and every class is one data type, and creating object of a class and generating it by using which one? Raise. So error type. So this is how you are writing it. This is how you are writing it by saying this is a syntax of generating exception explicitly. So you are writing some business logic, and if any input is given against that business logic, okay, you are writing some business logic, and if anything is given against that business logic, you are generating an error. You are generating an error by using which keyword? Raise keyword. For example, I am writing one function. For example, I'm writing one function. So my function is, I'm writing one function, and what is my function is simple. What is my function is multiply. What is the name of the function? Multiply is a function, and this function takes how many inputs here? Two inputs. Okay, this multiply is a function and it takes how many inputs? Two inputs. One is received by A and one more is received by B. So multiply is a function and it takes how many inputs here? Two inputs. The first one is received by A and second one is received by B. Okay, so let's try to receive how many values here? Two values. One is A value and one more is what? B value. After receiving, now according to my logic, according to my application logic, so two numbers, numbers should not multiply with what? Zero. According to my logic or my business logic, okay, number should not multiply with what? Zero. If A is zero or B is zero, multiplier should not be what? Zero. The condition is multiplier should not be zero. If you try to input either A value is 0 or B value is 0, then this multiply function, if A value is 0, if B value is 0, this multiply function should generate what? Error. This multiply function should generate what? Error. So I'm checking condition. If A double equal to 0, okay, if A is double equal to 0 or B double equal to 0. The value of B is equal to what? 0. Then what you're saying? Raise. You're generating error. Means, is it multiply is handling the error or generating error? Generating error, because handling the error might be various from one caller to another. Okay, so you should not handle the error. You should ask the caller to should handle what error. So because one caller handle a error in one way, the other caller will handle the error in what another way. So it might be various from one caller to what another. Because of that, you are not handling the error. You can display the message here only directly saying print cannot multiply number with what? 0. That indicates that your multiply function is handling the error. But I don't want multiply function should handle the error, because I want this error should be handled by whom? Caller. So who's calling this multiply function? Because there will be number of callers who call which function? Multiply function, and handling the error might be various from one caller to another. One caller might handle it in one way, and one caller might handle it what? Another way. Because of that, you are not handling the error, but you are generating error. Now, what error you have to generate? Okay, so I required one class or not? Yes. So there is one class. What is that class here? Value error. Is it value error is a predefined error or user defined error? Predefined error. Predefined error. So this is creating. This is creating object of which error? Value error. This is creating object of which error? Value error. So raise is there, and this is the name of the class. What is the name of the class here? Value error. You are creating object of which class here? Value error. So generating error is nothing but creating object and giving this error object to whom? Python virtual machine. But when this error is raised, if the value of A is 0 or value of B is 0, otherwise it will return A into B. A into B. Now this is a function mean. Now where I want to multiply two numbers. Now this is a caller here. This is a caller. Who's the caller here now? Main. So within this, I'm trying to multiply two numbers. So enter. Enter which number here? First number. Okay, enter first number. Number 2 equal to integer of input. Enter enter what? Second number. Enter first number and enter second number. So I try to input how many values here? Two values. So the first value is assigned to number 1, and second value is assigned to what here? Number 2. First value is assigned to number 1, and second value is assigned to number 2. Then within try block. So where you are multiplying? Within try block. Why you are multiplying in try block? Because multiply is a function. Multiply is a function which rises which error? Value error. Multiply is a function which rises what? Value error. And that error is handled by the caller or not? Yes. So I'm sending how many values here? Two values. That is number 1 and number 2. And then I try to display the message. Okay. So this is product of number 1 and number 2 is number 1 and number 2 is what here? Number 3. Product of number 1 and number 2 is product of number 1 and number 2 is number 3. Product of number 1 and number 2 is okay. Yes. This is a message what you'll get it. Yes. Yeah, this is what you're trying to do it. But this multiply function, what multiply function is doing, it is trying to raise an error. This multiply function rises which error? Value error. Now you have to handle that error or not? Yes. Value error. And here you are displaying the message saying that cannot divide, multiply, cannot multiply number with, cannot multiply number with what? 0. Cannot multiply number with 0. Okay, cannot multiply number with 0, or what you can do is instead of writing this message, you can ask again, enter first number and what? Second number, and again you can do what? Multiplication. After displaying this message, you can ask enter number 1 and number 2, and again you can do multiplication or not. Yes. Yes, that is how you try to handle it. So I try to run this. Enter first number is 5 and second number is 2, and the product of 5 and 2 is what? 10. Product of 5 and 2 is a 10. Okay. So for example, if you run this, I try to input the number 1 as 5 and the number 2 as what here? 2. So the value of number 1 is 5. The value of number 2 is what here? 2. Then after that you are saying number 3 equal to multiply. You called which function here? Multiply function. You called which function here? Multiply function by sending number. So this number is received by what here? A. And this number 2 is received by which one here? B. Number 1 is received by A and number 2 is received by which one? B. So 5, is it 5 is equal to 2? No. 5 is equal to 0? No. First condition is false. Then will it check the second one or not? Yes. So this condition is a false. Then come to the else and display 5 into 2. What is the value written here? 10. So 5 and 2 is what here? 10. Suppose I try to execute again. I try to input the value of number 1 is 5. The value of number 2 is what? 0. Then which function is called here? Multiply by sending the number 1. So who received the number 1 here? A. So the value of A is a 5 and receive the number 2 and the value of B is what here? 0. The value of A is a 5 and the value of B is what here? 0. This is 5 and this is 0. Then is it 5 equal to 0? No. But 0 equal to 0? Yes. Then this will create one object. This is which object here? Value error object. And this value error object is given to which one? PVM. So what PVM is looking for? Except block. Is it except block with the value error is exists? Yes. Then it is handled by this except block and display the message cannot multiply number with 0. It will display the message cannot multiply number with what? 0. Okay. Yes. But value error. I try to enter 5 and 0. Then what is that? Cannot multiply number with 0. What is it? Value error is a predefined error type or user defined? Predefined. Actually, those error types are used by, suppose value error is there. Who used value error? Integer function. Who used value error? Float function. All these functions are already used, which are value error. But if I'm using even value error in multiply, what will happen sometimes? For example, in try block, I'm using integer function as well as what? Multiply function. Integer function and multiply function, both the function rises same error, right? Suppose if it is multiply error, suppose if there is an error in multiply, I should generate which error? Multiply error. I should not generate value error because value error is different type. Here, what is the operation I'm doing? Multiply. Then I should generate which error? Multiply error. But is it any type called multiply error? Is it any type called multiply error? No. There is no type called which one? Multiply error. There is no type called which error? Multiply error. Then what will I do? I'll try to build my own type. I try to build my own type. Okay. I try to build my own type. That errors, you call it as custom errors. That errors, you call it as custom errors or user defined errors. That errors, you call it as custom errors, are the same thing. You call it as which errors? User defined errors. So when existing error types doesn't fulfill your requirement, when existing error types doesn't fulfill your requirement, then you build your own error types. When existing errors doesn't fulfill your requirement or your application requirement, then you build your own error types, and that you can call it as custom error types or user defined error types. Okay. Now this is custom errors, custom errors are user defined, custom error or user defined error, custom error or user defined error, user defined error types. Custom error types are user defined error types. Okay, custom error types are user defined error types. Okay, this is how you are writing it. Okay, so what is the name of the keyword here? Raise. Okay, custom errors are user defined errors. So custom error, custom error or user defined error is a class. It is a class. What you have to do is you have to build your own class. All these are predefined classes. Every class is a data type. Okay. Every class is a data type. So custom error or user defined error is what here? Class. It is a class, and this class inherits a properties and functions of which one here? Exception class. Okay. Custom error or user defined error is a class. Every class, see, I mean, you learn in object oriented, you learn how to build the class. But what is a class? Class is a data type. So these classes can be predefined or it can be what? User defined. These classes can be either predefined or user defined. Suppose there is a class. What is the name of the class here? Student. What is the name of my data type here? Student. Student is a data type. What is a student here? Data type. In the same way, suppose I'm trying to write a class. What is the name of the data type? Employee. What is the name of the class here? Employee. So is it employee is a data type name or not? Yes. In the same way, I try to write. I try to write which error here? Multiply. What is this multiply error? What is the type of error here? Multiply error. So this multiply error inherits the properties of which one? Exception. So here exception is a parent and multiply error is what here? Child. So here child class inherit all the properties of which class? Parent class. This is called as inheritance. You learn that in object oriented. So multiply error is inheriting all the properties of which class? Exception class. So multiply error is a type of exception. Okay. So hierarchy, if you see hierarchy of exception classes, hierarchy of error classes or exception classes, hierarchy of exception classes. Okay. Hierarchy of exception classes. This is a hierarchy of exception classes. So what is a parent class for all exceptions is exception. What is exception here? Parent class. So this exception is having all the properties and functions belongs to all exceptions. So there is an exception. What is that exception here? Value error. So there is an exception. What is that exception here? Type error. Value error, type error, key error, name error, index error, name error, index error. All these are predefined errors or user defined? Predefined. All these are predefined errors. And all these error types inherits. All these error types inherits which one? Exception type. All these error types inherits which type? Exception type. So value error inherited from exception. Key error inherited from exception. Name error is inherited from exception. Index error is also inherited from which one? Exception. You can say exception is a root class, or it is called as which class? Parent class. And this class properties are inherited by all other exception types. So value error is a type of value error is a type of value error is a type of exception. Value error is a type of exception. In the same way, for example, in inheritance you learn this. So there is a student and there is a MCA student. Okay, there is a student and there is MCA student, and there is one more student which is called as MBA student. So student, so here student is a base class, and MCA student and MBA student are called as which classes? Child classes. So it means MCA student inherits the properties of student and MBA student inherits the properties of student. So where student is called as which class here? Parent class, and MBA student and MBA student and MCA student are called as which classes? Child classes. So it means this MBA student inherits the properties of which one? Student. So MCA student is a type of student and MBA student is a type of student. MCA student is a type of student and MBA student is a type of student, right? Okay, just here. Now, these are the hierarchy of exception classes. These are different exception classes here. Okay, so the exception what you develop, that is also one class. So value error is inheriting exception class in the same way. The exception class what you develop, and that also inherit which one? Exception. So how you are writing this? Now I don't want it should generate which error? Value error. I don't want it should generate which error? Value error. But I want it should generate which error? Multiply error. Then I'm developing one class. What is the name of the type? Multiply. What is the name of the type? Multiply error. And this multiply error is which class? It is which class here? Exception class. Means this multiply error inherits the properties and functionality of which class? Exception class. And this is empty type. Nothing is there inside this block. I just developed one type. What is the name of the type here? Multiply error. What is the name of the type here? Multiply error. And rise. Rise which one? Rise which one here? Multiply. What is the name of the data type? Multiply error. And here you try to handle. Here you try to handle which error here? Multiply. Here you try to handle which error? Multiply error. Is it multiply error? Is it user defined or predefined? User defined. This is custom error. Custom error type. This is custom error type or user defined error. Custom error type or user defined error type. Custom error type or user defined error type. I'll try to enter 5 and 0. Cannot multiply number with what here? 0. But this is which error here? Multiply error. So when existing errors doesn't match with your logic, when existing error doesn't match with your logic, then you build your own error types. Then you build your own error types, and that you call it as so that you can call it as user defined exceptions. User defined exceptions, and the same thing you can call it as custom exceptions. User defined exception or the same thing you can call it as custom exceptions, right? Okay, right. Now this is how you are trying to build your own exception class. For example, if you see a simple application, a simple application, you can develop one simple application where you can build your own exception types, where you can build your own exception types. For example, assume that I want to develop a user authentication system. Authentication means where you have user registration as well as sign in and sign up. Okay, developing which application? Sign in and sign up application. Okay, it means my application is having two functions. One is sign in and one more is what? Sign up. So two functions are there. One is sign in. One is sign in. Okay, sign in will receive username and it also receive which one? Password. And there is one more function called sign up, and this will receive username as well as what again? Password. Okay. So, and where you are storing these details into one dictionary. What is the dictionary is users. So what is the name of the dictionary here? Users. Okay. But this users is a global dictionary or not? Yes. Okay. Then sign in. When I sign in, I may raise an error. I may get an error. What error? Sign in error. Sign in error. So this indicates invalid username and password, right? So when you'll get a sign in error, if the username and password is wrong, and at the sign up, you'll get sign up error. At the time of sign up, you'll get which error? Sign up error. So this is sign in error and this is sign up error. So when you'll get the sign up error, if there is already user with the same name, if there is already user with what? Same name, then you'll get which error? Sign up error, right? So here I'm trying to use global. I can use directly, right? Okay, what I'm saying is if users, what is the name of the dictionary? Users. If username in users dictionary, sign in means you are checking whether this username is exist in the dictionary or not. If it is exists, then you are comparing with the password. If the password equal to users of username, then what I'm saying return true. Else what I'm saying I'm raising error. Which error I'm raising? Sign in error. If username is also not available, if username is also not available, even I'm raising which error? Sign in. Even username is not available, I'm raising which error? Sign in error. Okay. If password is invalid, I raise sign in error. If username is not available, I raise which error? Sign in error. Then one more is there. What is this here? Sign up. Sign up means I should add inside which one? Users. I should add inside the users or not? Yes. Then I'm trying to use global. Global, what is that? Users. Then I'm trying to check if username, if username in what? Users. Then I should display the error or not? Yes. This user is already there. Sign up. Which error I'm raising here? Sign up error. Otherwise, I'm adding this. I'm adding this user details into what? Dictionary. I'm adding this user details into dictionary by saying users of username equal to which one? Password. Okay. And then I said here return. Return what? True. I said return true. Okay, true is written. Otherwise, it rises which one? Error. Okay. Then this is main function here. So within main function, I'm trying to display the menu. So this is a menu which contain two operations. The first operation is, what is the first operation here? Sign in. What is the first operation? Sign in. And what is the second operation here? Sign up. Okay, sign up. Okay, sign in. And one more is a sign up. Is there any mistake? Okay. Then print. And the third operation is what here? Exit. So you have to option 1. So integer of input. Enter your option. Enter your option. So if the option is 1, you try to input username. If the option is 1, you are trying to input username. Okay. So you are trying to input what here? Username. You are trying to input username. And you are trying to input which one? Password. You are trying to input username. And you are trying to input which one? Password. Then after that, I'm saying if sign in, I'm calling which function here? Sign in. I'm calling which function? Sign in by sending username, comma which one? Password. Then I'll write time to print the message, welcome. So welcome. Okay, welcome. I'll just write user. So this particular username, I'm just writing a message. What is the message I'm writing? Welcome. Otherwise, it generates which one? If username and password is not valid, then it generates which one? Error. Which error it raises? Which error it raises? Sign in. Which error it raises? Sign in, error. And here I'm trying to display the message saying that invalid username or what? Password. Invalid username or password. I'll try to explain. Else if option equal to which one? 2. Then again you are saying username. Input. What you are trying to input here? Username. What you are trying to input here? Username. And what you are trying to input here? Password. So this is user registration, right? Then I'm trying to say try block. Within try block, if sign up to which I'm sending username and one more is what? Password. Username and password. Print. I just display the message. User registered successfully. User registered. Okay, user registered successfully. Otherwise, accept. What is it here? Sign up. Sign up. And here, sign up error. Accept block. Which error it is? Sign up error. And display the message. User exists. User exists. User exists with this particular name. Okay. Then I call the function main. Simple. But a simple application where I write how many classes here? 2 classes. One is sign up error class and one more is which one? Sign in error class. So sign in function rises which error? Sign in error. And sign up function rises which error? Sign up error. Sign in function rises which error? Sign in error. And sign up function rises which error? Sign up error. Okay. So caller is calling which function? Sign in function. And handle which error? Sign in error. So caller calls the sign up function and handle which error? Sign up error. We'll just see this explanation. This program explanation I'll give you tomorrow, right? So today we'll stop it here and tomorrow we'll continue. And tomorrow I'll tell you how this program will work, right? So thank you. We'll see tomorrow.